Hi everybody, Denise here with Dolphin Delight Designs. I am here today to demonstrate a product that I received as part of the Royal Court design team called Decor Clay from Pentart. I'm pretty excited to try this. It's looks to me like a type of resin clay. So with no further ado, let's get started. So I thought I would show us how to do it a couple of different ways. I have the product. It does come with a little cup. It's got some measurement marks on it. I also have these little cups to use that usually come with like epoxy resin, or you can use them for all kinds of things. You can buy them online. They're just little 30cc, 30 millimeter cups. I have a scale so that we can try that too. And we'll just see, in some molds. I picked a variety of different molds. Some from the Finnebear brand. This is La Blanche, I think is what it's called. Zuri, of course. And then some cups to mix it in. I prefer using Dixie cups. Honestly, it's just so I can throw them away when I'm done. This kind of resin can be hard to clean out of silicone cups, but you can certainly try our clay. I don't know if you want to, if the proper etiquette is to call it resin or clay. So excuse me if I say the wrong thing. However, you could use silicone cups and then, clean it out when it's dry. I just use Dixie cups for ease. All right. So the first way we'll try it is it's 2 parts B to 1 part A. The directions are not only on the bottle, but they are listed. They come in the package also. So with the package, you'll get a little thing that has the directions on it. And mix 1 volume unit A with 2 volume units B. I have some stir sticks. I just use popsicle sticks. You could use anything. I mean, I know there's some silicone sticks that people use for resin. I save all of our wood sticks. If we use coffee stirrers, I clean them and then save them and use them for resin stirrers or paint stirrers. So I do recycle where I can. All right, so the first one we can try is, let's do this one. Obviously my molds are not brand new, so you might see little pieces of old resin on them, but that's fine. I also use a spoon to scoop it out with, scoop the powder out with. Again, you can use, you do you. Use whatever you want to do. Okay, so we're going to use, let's do the cup method. We'll see how well that works. This resin says that it takes 30 minutes to set up in the mold, and then you're supposed to let it sit for another 30 minutes after that. So 30 minutes in the mold and 30 minutes after demolding. So hour total time, which isn't bad really for this kind of product. All right, so we have our handy dandy Dixie cup. I'm gonna move this back out of our way. And I'm just going to take the little plastic cup All right, so there's our 2 parts. Little poof of dust coming up there. And as always have a pack of baby wipes nearby. You never know. I think that's kind of an art essential these days. Have our required baby wipes. If you're out of baby wipes, you can always just wet down a bunch of damp paper towels. I've been known to do that in the past. All right, we're just going to fill this up. And add it in. The directions say that we should use it within 30 minutes of mixing it. I mean, excuse me, within 15 minutes of mixing it. Man, I was stuck on that 30 minutes, wasn't I? So you want to stir, make sure you get all the lumps. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Get everything from the bottom. Because you know how sometimes when you put powder, it gets like this clump on the bottom or in the side. Seems to mix pretty easily. I don't know if you can see that, but doesn't look like there's any lumps. So it's got a very thin consistency to it. I don't know if you can see that, how well it shows on camera. Okay. So the first one I'm going to pour is these moths. I'm not going to pour all of them. It's just more of a sampling. I want to see how well this does in the details. When I'm pouring resin, I kind of like to go a little bit all over the mold to see how well it's sitting in. Let's do some wings. I might have got too much in that one. So another trick that I will use Another trick or a couple things that I will use when I'm working with resin is an old credit card or gift card, or, you know, we all have tons of these laying around, right? Or something like this that's got a flat edge to it. And when you kind of over pour a little bit, if you take something like this and just kind of go over it, you can dump it into the very next mold. It'll clean that edge right up. So then it's smooth on the edge. You don't have to worry about going back in later and trimming it. It's just a little trick that I've picked up from using resin so much. And I find it quite handy. And you save on resin. I mean, we almost got a whole nother piece here from the resin that I scraped off. Sometimes I'll use, like this is a coffee stirrer, but it's got a little bit finer point. And I stir as I'm going, just in case anything settles to the bottom. Okay, so that'll give us some moths. We'll move that off to the side. Clean up my mess here. I also like to kind of tap. Just, you know, gently tap on the sides like that will help get it settled in also. All right, so this mold has a little bit more detail. You can see in, you know, it's got all this little tiny detail in here. So I thought this would be a good one to see how well this does with a little bit more detail. Need to hurry up a little bit, I think, because I'm getting thick. So what you see me doing here is I'm kind of taking this and pushing this a little bit into these intricate little details in here. Another thing you can do with this kind of product is you can get cheap brushes. So I used to, you know, get those ones that you get at the dollar store, or just really cheap, inexpensive brushes. They do not need to be anything fancy. And you can actually paint the first little bit of the resin into your mold, using the brush to get it into those little tiny crevices and cracks. Especially with this kind of a thicker based type of product. I don't usually use that with the epoxy resin because it's a little bit thinner, but I did use it in the past with the thicker kind of water-based type of resin, and it really seemed to help get it into those, you know, those little detail cracks and crevices that can sometimes not get in there, and little bubbles and that kind of stuff. It was an idea that I saw somewhere, and I apologize if anybody's watching this and it was their idea. I don't remember where I saw it originally, but it was a great idea. So just want to pass it along for someone else to benefit from that knowledge. That's why we're all here, right? It's to learn from each other, the tricks and tips and tricks of the trade. Okay, so the next way I wanted to try it was using my preferred method when I'm working with resins, which is measurement, using a small scale. So the first thing I do is I'll put the cup on and see if the cup weighs anything. So in this case, this cup weighs 2.2. So you want to make sure, you know, that you do that initially so that you don't surprise yourself. And then I just take it back down to 0. We're going to grab our powder. And start adding it. Another suggestion, if you're the kind of person like me that sometimes this powdered type of stuff can, let's do 3 ounces. I got a lot of molds. It can bother you, irritate your sinuses or your eyes. I wear a face mask. Lord knows we got plenty of them around, right? All right, so we got 3 ounces there. So we'll need to put 1.5 of this, right? You know what? Let's just do, I have plenty of molds. So let's do 4 ounces. Just go ahead and use this up. All right, so we got 4 ounces, which means that we need to add 2 ounces of the product. I take my own advice and wear a mask. Kind of hard to talk behind a mask, though. Okay. So I'm going to take it back to 0. I'm going to add 2 ounces. Since I poured so much of this, I want to pour it in another cup because I want to make sure that I got everything. Yep, see there's some clumps down here. Okay. So I thought I would try it on the more detailed mold. As you can see, this is very detailed. So I don't know if it'll work with this very thin line that it has here. sometimes the clay type product does not. It'll, you know, tear. But we'll find out. Next, I have a Zuri mold. I think I have enough left in here. All right. So now we just wait for it to set up and see what we got. I'll come back in about 30 minutes and demold. Okay, checking back in. It's been longer than 30 minutes. I think maybe due to the deepness of the mold, it may be taking longer. So the edges like on this one are setting up, but there's a lot of area here and it's still pretty damp. It's been about an hour on this particular one, so we're going to leave it sit for a little bit longer. The same with these, is we're all poured at the same time. Okay, so we've let these sit for a while. The elven mold I actually left sit for a few hours. I don't know if because I mixed it differently. This was the one that I mixed using the scales, but it seemed to take a bit longer to dry. So go ahead and try to demold this guy. So it still needs to dry up some, but you can see that all the detail came out really well. So it did really good on all the detail. Doesn't appear to be very few bubble. So we'll leave that there to dry for a while. Here were the La Blanche ones that I did. These I also let dry a lot longer for a couple of reasons. One, it was that same batch and they seem to have been taking longer. So I would say that to not use the scales and use the cup measurement, you know, 2 cups to 1 cup or 2 to 1 measurement. But I don't think that the scale worked. Either that or I just didn't do it right because it just seemed to be too liquidy. Yeah. So the problem with this mold is that it's just too deep, and in order to get it out, it's going to break. So this isn't going to be a good product for something like this that has so much going on it, that in order to break it apart, you know, to unstick it, it's going to crack. So for this kind of mold, this product would not be your best bet. You're going to want to do it for more solid molds, you know, like this will pop out very easily, I think. Yeah. See, that comes out. But these, because the mold has to move so much, it's going to crack these pieces. There's just not enough stability in that little tiny area to hold that together. So I will unmold that later and use what pieces I can. So I mean, I'll still use these because I do mixed media, so every little piece can be part of an art piece. But for someone who's looking to not have that, I would not use this product, you know, on this particular kind of highly detailed mold. All right. Again, good detail in these. But you see that there's a lot of surface space on this. There's not a bunch of intricate details going on outside of the mold. It's different when you have it within the base of the mold. Like this is a lot of detail, but it's a solid piece. The directions say 30 minutes. I found on this, you know, and again, it's always speculative of temperature where you are, that kind of thing. You just have to watch your mold and see how it's setting up. But this I left in a little bit longer and it came out just fine. And you can just break these little edges off. They come right off. Or you can take a razor blade or a little bit of a sanding block, trim that up. It's not a big deal. And see, now they're just popping out. I left them in longer, let them dry more. So you see on the edges it's pretty dry, and then it just needs to dry some more in the middle. And again, you can just break the little edges off. You can break them off, use a little bit of sand, you know, nail file, whatever. All the different ways work. There's the detail on that one. So you can see they're not quite dry yet. And then I left it to dry longer. So for conclusion, I would say that this works really well in these molds. You want to do it a little bit on the thicker side. Those of you that might use like an epoxy resin, you're used to doing it as thin, as you can, because it'll hold up. This kind of product, it needs to have that thickness to it to hold it together. Once it dries, it'll be plenty strong, but in this stage, it can be a little fragile. And leave it in the mold a little bit longer. I would not leave it in for just 30 minutes. I would leave it in for, a couple hours. This is not going to be a fast cure process if you're using these bigger ones. Now, these little ones, if you were just doing something this small, you could probably do, a short period of time and it would be fine. So I hope you found this video helpful. I will do another one on, creating something with it and painting it. This kind of product, you do not have to use a base paint like a gesso on it. You can paint right on it. So you can, paint your acrylic on it. I didn't do a tint on it, but you can add tint to the product to color it and then mold it. So it's a very versatile type of product. All right, see you next time. Bye.